Hey, welcome to Collective Effervescence, the mental health podcast. My name is Carlos. I am your host. You can call me Los. That's the nickname that I do go by. I am joined here by my co-host here, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Luis. I am a part of this as well. I'm excited to talk about mental health and having it be part of an ongoing conversation, bringing more light to the topic. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited that you decided to join me in this process here. And I know for the both of us, mental health is, something that has become really important to our lives. And so, having this opportunity now and to kind of bring other individuals along with this is very special. So the purpose of this podcast in general is to build a community of individuals that actively engage in positive mental health practices. Mental health is talked about a lot in some spaces, but not everywhere. So, we really want people to come together to really start including it more into their daily lives. So that's really what we're coming at, with this podcast. We want to build a community and get people, talking about mental health more and sharing some of their experiences, and ultimately, kind of breaking down some barriers and breaking down some walls and seeing what we can do to kind of lift each other up and create a more positive space for mental health. For me, ultimately it's just that support group. I've gone through a lot with my own mental health, and especially with this last year with COVID, that affected so many people's lives tremendously. And so I really started to focus on my mental health and make it a priority. So I really wanted to kind of take the opportunity, use this platform that I do have here, and just, get involved in the mental health space and the mental health industry, and do what I can to be a voice for people that maybe don't have it, and, really just kind of get that conversation going. What about you, Luis?
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I think a lot, what mental health means to me, it's pretty important just because, I've been through a lot in my life, just going through school and work and kids and all that. So it gets rough. And it's just not everybody has access to being able to get the help that they need. So I would like to first off say we are not professionals. We're not trying to be professionals. We are just here to be another avenue to get this topic off the ground and get it just talked about more often than it is. I think that there is definitely a stigma around it, and it's a negative stigma, which is, it's kind of sad, to be honest, because I've had my share of therapy sessions and stuff, and they've helped me through a lot. So if I could be somebody that can show what mental health and what therapy and things like that can do for, not a normal person, but just the everyday Joe, that, it's out there and it's available. So I just want to be just another avenue for that, and another voice for someone to hear, to make them feel like, you're not alone. Things are hard. COVID really put a, what's it called? Just put the brakes on everything for everybody. So that was a big thing. A lot of people lost their lives, so it's just it's a big thing. And, going back to work after COVID, being scared of it and all that kind of stuff. So I just think mental health is something that should be talked about more, should be, just part of the everyday conversation. I think it's really important. So, that's why I'm here. And that's why, when Carlos, pitched this idea and came up with it, I was like, bro, I'm on board. Let's do this. So this is our shot. So here we go.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely excited to do it, and I'm glad that we are kind of taking the first steps here. I think it's been in my mind for a while. So, you've been, just the excitement that you had towards getting this podcast started. It was just okay, no, let's do this thing. I have somebody that can that is on board, kind of has the same mindset. And so just having the opportunity here, I'm excited. I'm very grateful to do this. So to tell you guys a little bit more, you guys are probably like, what the heck does collective effervescence even mean?
I didn't know what it meant.
You did not. So the reason why, we kind of chose to name this collective effervescence, it was a term that I learned while studying communication at UC Santa Barbara. And it was coined by Emil Durkheim. He was a sociologist. And so the definition of a collective effervescence is a community or society may at times come together and simultaneously communicate the same thought or participate in the same action. Collective effervescence often excites individuals and serves to unify the group through method of social organization. And this was first studied in religious gatherings or sacred tribal gatherings. And I think the way that collective effervescence, in a sense, relates to this podcast, we want to create a community that actively engages in mental health together. And, if you've been to a concert, that feeling, that rush, that excitement that you experience at a concert of just, we're all rocking out to the same song, we're all singing together, that, feel good emotion that you experience is collective effervescence. And it's, to me, one of the most beautiful things that you can experience as a society. And like like the definition says, it serves to unify people. And, and especially in this world now, there's a lot of division between us. So, I think if we can all come together and focus on the benefits of collective effervescence and just coming together to be one and, communicate in one thing together. And if that one thing is mental health, I think that's a beautiful thing. And, connecting this a little bit to the pandemic, a lot of us were so alone. We had to stay home. We had to social distance. We were away from family and friends. And so we really missed out on that huge social piece and social aspect of our lives that is truly important to us. And really does, amazing things for people as far as building you up individually. So, that's essentially where the name came from and why we are choosing to kind of move that in that direction with the podcast. Is, to me, it's a term that I love and, is really dear to my heart. So I'm excited to kind of teach people a little bit more about that, but also, connect it to the experience that we have going on with this podcast right now.
For sure. I mean, on top of that, I think, to me, it just means good vibes. I mean, so like Carlos was saying, when you're at a concert, you're at a show, whatever, for me, when I would go to shows, I haven't been to one in a while because of COVID, but just going to shows and just being in, not even in the mosh pits, not even in, front stage or whatever, just being in that environment and feeling the energy of everybody there. No one cares, what color you are, what religion you believe in, if you believe in one, how old you are, whatever. Everyone's just there and it's just chill and it's dope. And sometimes there's drinking, sometimes there's not. It's just everyone's just there to be part of those good vibes. So that's what it means to me. That's kind of how I simplified it, because when I first heard the definition, I was like, what? But
what does this mean?
Yeah. But after hearing about it and then just listening to the definition and reading about it and studying it, I'm just yeah, it's good vibes. It's just I think that's what everyone needs right now. I think it's what a lot of people need right now, because there's a lot of division, whether, political, COVID wise, work wise, friends wise, not everyone's going to agree with you, but it's just but if the intention of good vibes is there, that's kind of what we're kind of trying to put out there, is good vibes towards mental health. Because I know when I've talked about therapy to people, are you going to pay somebody to listen to your problems? Yes, I am. That. I will definitely do that, just because I know it's helpful. I know it's helped me through a lot. And, if you have the means, why not? So that's why I'm here. That's what it means to me. So yeah, let's go on to the first topic.
Yeah, let's definitely do it. And I think that, what you just said right now was the perfect kind of segue into our first topic here of just the therapy stigma. I personally have not done therapy. It's something that I do want to start. It's something that I want to be in for the rest of my life, because it's a tool that I can use to become a better version of myself and understand myself a little bit more. So from a standpoint or perspective of someone that has actively done therapy before, what are some of the, things that you maybe learned from it, or things that you kind of didn't realize about therapy before actually getting into it?
Well, at first I was part of that negative stigma. I'm not going to lie. So my girlfriend at the time was going through therapy now, and I had the same thing. Why would you pay somebody to listen to your problems? It's dumb. Talk to me. And she was just no, you're biased. I'm well, of course I am. I love you, whatever. So, but it's just yeah. So, it got to a point for me where things weren't going very well. I wasn't feeling very happy. I wasn't feeling very fulfilled, and I was like, something needs to change. And it's crazy because it was right after my son was born. He's 4 now, but, after he was born, I just felt like lost and just like unhappy. I was like, man, like I need to talk to somebody who's not my mom or who's not my girlfriend or not somebody that knows me. I just need to talk to somebody. So, I was going to school at, Cal State, Monterey Bay, Go Waters. And, they had this thing, it was called Let's Talk. And it was like, oh, cool. You just talk to a counselor. So I ended up going and talking to her at the time. And actually my ex kind of like, not talked me into it, but she was just like, it's helped me through a lot. So a few months later, I was like, you know what, let's try it. So, I went to a session. I signed up for it and called my name in and talked to her for about 30 minutes. And I just felt relief. I was like, wow, like this is cool. And she was like, hindsight, she was kind of biased. She was kind of like on my side, which at the time I was like, yeah, dope. But, I was just kind of like, she was cool. But, and then after we moved to Southern California from Northern California, I went to therapy again, with my girlfriend at the time. And, that helped us through a lot. And we were just like, it helped me notice things like, I'm triggered by certain things, or, there's still unresolved trauma from, the past or whatever. So that was cool to kind of, for that to come up. So, now, no longer with said girlfriend, but, therapy is still a big part of my life. I just got back into it a few weeks ago, and, it's helped. It's my same therapist that I've had for a while, and she's really cool. She's kind of helped me through a few different things, like, why do I get triggered? Why do I feel, whatever, why do I react to certain things in a certain way? So it's helped a lot. I can't wait for it to see what else it could do for me. I honestly think everybody should have therapy at one point or another in their life. Like, I think like my own parents would benefit from it. Not that they have any problems. Well, I don't know, everyone has their problems, but I just think collectively, everybody who has access to therapy, even if you don't, try to find access to it. I'm sure there's a way, Medicare, Medi-Cal, whatever. There has to be a way for you to be able to get some kind of therapy session, whether it's at school like I had it. It was, perfect timing. So, it's helped a lot. It's helped me see a lot of things. I started journaling, from it. I stopped. I'm gonna have to start doing it again. It helped me, want to go back and work out again, which is where I'm at right now. I want to go back to work out. Haven't, but, we all have a process. So, that's kind of what it means to me. That's, I benefited from it. I think a lot of people would benefit from it. So.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of brought up an important thing in that, in your little speech there, what you were talking about there, I kind of had a little brain fart. But I think it's, with your girlfriend at the time saying like, oh no, like you're going to be biased. I think a lot of people will either use their significant other or their friends to kind of talk about things, which is great. You definitely want to have that support group around you or somebody around you that can kind of help you through whatever you might be going on in life. But I think, the important thing is to remember is they're not a professional.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I had a similar experience in my life recently where it was like, you can rely on somebody only to a certain extent before they like stop giving you good advice. I think there's a lot that a professional can do, obviously outside of your friend, because they know certain techniques, or they know how to bring out certain things that might be buried, or, can provide that outside perspective into what you may be experiencing to kind of give you, a different mindset or a different perspective on, okay, what am I really experiencing right now? You can learn about your triggers and stuff like that. And it's an ongoing process. And so, going to a professional, I'm assuming it's a very humbling experience because I've heard from other people's experiences within that they, go into therapy with the mindset of like, okay, yeah, I want to learn about this and this and this and maybe cover these things. But there's always so much that, you learn through the process that maybe sometimes you weren't ready for, you know? And so for me, that's what kind of gets me excited about starting therapy and, you know, eventually starting therapy. I feel like I've done a lot of self-reflection over the past year. So I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about my own triggers, but I feel like there's always something else that I haven't really quite found out yet that I'm like, okay, I need somebody else to kind of like bring this out, you know?
Yeah, there's so much more that will come out during those sessions. There's a lot of emotions that are tied to that too. Like, I cried a lot during therapy. Just like, you know, just ask me one simple question. I'm just like, I mean, you kind of just, you know, you're in a safe space. That's the first thing. You're in a safe space. They're not there to judge you. They're there to listen to you, give you advice, and they are there to help. I mean, so it's just another leg of support. I mean, you could go to your mom, dad, friends, whatever. Sometimes they'll just tell you what they think you want to hear. And you're just like, wow, that was a great conversation. But then you go back and you talk to somebody who's unbiased and they're just like, that was bullshit. Like, they're lying to you or whatever. Or, you know, like, probably shouldn't listen to them because they probably haven't experienced what you have. Or, you know, sometimes they just say whatever they think is going to make you feel better, which is great. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I do that too. When I talk to friends, sometimes I'm just like, how am I going to make them feel better? But at the same time, it's just like what I've learned also is to try to be unbiased and is to just listen and just be like, instead of trying to come up with a solution for someone's issues, like, oh man, that sucks. And just saying that sentence, oh man, that sucks, that helps a lot because it shows the other person that I'm listening to you. I'm not here to try to judge you or fix you or whatever. It's just like, man, I want to feel what you're feeling and be here with you right now in this emotion. So, that's why I think therapy is, cool. You know, it could be cool. I mean, it's just like, you know, it's cool because it's just like, it's unbiased, it's safe. And I feel very comfortable when I'm talking to my therapist. I feel a little bit more comfortable when I'm talking, you know, compared to talking to my mom or my dad or whatever, because it's like, sometimes there's shit going on I don't want them to know.
It's like, how much can I share with you?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just the same thing with friends too. Like, maybe you have a friend that you have a trigger with and they, you know, they kind of push your buttons, but you don't want to tell them that. And so it's just like, you take those issues like, oh man, my therapy session's on Tuesday, which mine is, but it's like, it's on Tuesday. I'm going to bring this up. And then you bring it up and you talk about it. And then maybe you'll get another perspective on it. Not every time, you know, not going to say every time I go to therapy, I feel like, oh man, my life's going to be great now. But it's just like, I just feel better because I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. I have someone that I could talk to and that'll listen to me and that'll be unbiased. And, you know, she's, just been a lot of help, a lot of support. She knows my kids' names and stuff. She asked about them. Like, a lot of people don't ask about my kids. So I'm just like, that's not a trigger, but it's just like, hey, they exist. I mean, so it's just like,
yeah,
it's cool that someone's like, oh, you know, how's Bella? How's Bo? Like, my kids. But it's just like, you know, they're great. Thanks for asking. So it's just like, just little things like that. But I just think therapy overall has helped me a lot. And I think, the more people learn about it and the more people have access to it, like me, you know, there's a website, psychologytoday.com. You go on there.
Sponsor us.
What?
I said sponsor us.
Yeah, for real. But if you have, you know, if you have your insurance or whatever, you could filter it by your insurance. You can filter it by where you live. And a lot of them are telehealth now, which means it's like FaceTime kind of thing. So it's like, it's virtual. You don't have to go. Cause some people, yeah, I don't want to talk to a stranger. Like, I get that. But it's just like, you know, you sit at the comfort of your own home and talk to somebody and they're there for you to listen. And you could try them out. Like my therapist, which was really cool. Like after the first session, she was just like, do you think it's going to work out? I'm like, yeah. Do you? I hope so. I mean, so it's just like, that was cool because, you know, just because someone's a therapist doesn't mean they're right for you. So that's another thing that website gives. You know, you could filter it through where you live. They put their little bios on there. You could read, you know, this is what I deal with. This is who my clients come to me with. I specialize in whatever. And it's just like, dope. I want to talk to this person because I feel like she'd be the most helpful. Yeah, that goes my little spiel on psychologytoday.com. Check it out. Look at it, you know, or not, whatever.
You know, I think you brought up a really good point there. It's, you know, when people try to share their own experiences or try to share what they may be kind of going through in a certain moment. Not all the time do they have someone that actively listens to them or acknowledges what they're going through. And I think a therapist can provide that for you, you know.
Trained for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, you know, sometimes, you know, I think this is kind of like a common thing that's happening right now. It's like, okay, well, other people have it worse. So it's like, okay, well, you're not acknowledging what I'm experiencing at this time. And so I think, sometimes whether that's with family members that or your friends, it's like, well, I'm experiencing this too. Like my life is hard. Well, it's like, okay, but you're not listening to what I'm trying to maybe open up to you, and you're not like listening to what I'm trying to say. Like maybe I need some help right now and I need someone to listen. But every time I try to open up, they're like, oh, you don't have it that bad. Or,
yeah. I mean, I feel a lot of people, you know, not to bash anyone, but some people aren't capable of that, which is fine.
Yeah.
You learn that quickly. I mean, so then you're just like, all right, this is just a person I play video games with, not someone I'm going to open up to. Cause I have friends that, you know, if I bring up some problems, issues, they're like, oh, well, my life is this. Like, just wanting you to listen, but sure, tell me what's going on with you. I'll listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, cause that's just kind of the person I am. I like to listen to people talk about their problems and stuff, but it's just like, yeah, not everybody has the capability of doing that. And so it's just like you can be talking to somebody and that's probably what you experience. They bring up their problems and they're like, oh, well, I have it worse. And you're just like, all right, this was pointless or whatever. So it's just like, if you go to a therapist, they're not going to be like, well, my kids did this. Did your kids do that? Like, yeah, you know, I mean, if they do that, probably not a good therapist, but you know,
no, not at all.
Yeah. I mean, but like, you know, they're there to listen to you and give you advice and try to, and kind of, you know, there's little techniques that you could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing too. It's like a therapist not only helps you uncover a lot of things, but they can provide you with tools or different, like habits that you can do to kind of help you when you know, you're facing any situation, whether it's anxiety, depression, you get overwhelmed, you're stressed out, helping you manage your emotions. You know, these are all, you know, things that we all face. And so the better that we are at these things, I mean, our mental health could just improve so much, but it's just like, we just lack the tools, the tools of like, okay, I'm really stressed out right now. And sometimes I don't know how to handle this, you know, and sometimes you see people acting out or, maybe they just shut down and do the complete opposite. So, you know, having those tools to learn, okay, how can I deal with this stuff? It makes your life a little bit easier.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, for sure. I would like to get some more help with mine because like, I'm not gonna lie, this past week at work, I was super stressed out and overwhelmed and I just took a nap. I was like, fuck this. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna lay here. I mean, so it's just like, and that's not productive. That's not gonna like help me accomplish my goals at work, but it's just like, you know, it's hard, you know, it's hard sometimes. So it's hard to, I go to therapy and I still shut down. That's just what I do. That's just been my thing, but it's just like, you know, and it's normal. People do that. Sometimes people need that, but it's just like, I mean, shutting down in the middle of the workday is probably not the most productive thing you could do, but you know.
But I think that's the thing too. It's, I mean, this kind of going into another topic that we did want to talk about, especially because it's so important to us. Like our work right now, the industry that we are in and the roles that we have, like it's hard. Like it is a very hard role. And especially with the way the economy is, the workforce, I mean,
the ports.
Yeah, the ports. Yeah. So we work in recruiting for manufacturing, logistics, warehouse roles and stuff like that. Not the best positions, I would say. I mean, just in general, like if you work in that environment, that's great. We need people to work in manufacturing. You think about when you go online shopping or anything like that. Well, there's people that work to unload that product off the truck.
Right.
Get it ready to be shipped out to your house. So when you look at what's going on right now, you have thousands of new jobs that have just been created, which is supposed to be good for the economy, but we don't have people ready to work or people wanting to go to work. So that kind of slows down the process. Talking a little bit too much about work here, but, I think it's just, we face a lot of things in whether it's your daily job or your daily life. And sometimes just acknowledging like, that's hard. Like my job is hard. Like you can do that and it's okay to do that.
Right.
And I think with us, in our positions, we're held to such high standards. And so we always have to try to be performing at our best. And and sometimes it's like, well, I can't sit here and I can't acknowledge that I have a hard job. Right. Like, is it okay for me to say my job is hard and I'm struggling? And so I think that, I don't know. How do you feel?
I feel that, I was talking to you actually and talking to one of our other coworkers and I was just like, dude, like our job's hard. It's not easy. We have to, we have jobs that are, they don't pay the best. They're not the best environments, but our job is to fill those jobs. That's what we have to do. That's what we signed up for. So it's just like trying to convey that to somebody who, may have mental health issues or may have depression or may, feel better being at home because they're being paid to be at home, probably paid more than the jobs that we're offering. I can't blame them. But at the same time, it's just like, I think a lot of us have jobs that are difficult and they're hard and we have to deal with people, deal with situations. There's like all kinds of things that could happen at work, just like harassment, there's violence, there's all kinds of shit that could happen at work.
Yeah.
And I think there is a stigma that's just like, don't complain about don't complain about work. Be happy that you have a job. Like, well, yeah, I'm super grateful to have a job. I'm blessed to have a job, but it is hard.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to just put your head down and keep going. But sometimes it's hard to do that, Yeah. So I think that's what, that's another, thing that should be brought up. I will say that we had a, mental health day at work and, they, we're supposed to pay for that out of our pocket. So it's just like, there should be more mental health days that the companies provide and should be like, hey, this month, take a day off to realign yourself, to relax, go, treat yourself, go spend a day, at your favorite restaurant, go to your favorite stores or go, take your kids to the park or spend time with your kids. If they're not in school, spend time with your kids. I just think that's something that should be, a more recognized thing is that, mental health should be a big thing talked about at work. And I don't think it is, very often.
No.
And if it is, it's probably just like, oh, hey, you feel bad about work? Great. Or whatever. It's not really anything productive. So,
and I think that that's part of the problem, or I guess the challenge is when it comes to work, if you're struggling or if things are kind of getting hard for you, that never gets acknowledged in the way that it should. The only good acknowledgement that you ever get is from doing a good job or exceeding goals or exceeding expectations. But when things are hard, it's like there's a lot of negativity that can come your way. It's like, oh, you're not doing your job right. Hey, we got to put you on a performance plan because, you aren't where you need to be. And it's like, okay, well, now I have this other added stress because it's like, okay, well, I was already held to such a high standard. I wasn't hitting that because my job is hard and I'm struggling with it. And then now it's like, well, now I got to work 10 times harder just to even keep my job, And so, with unfortunately the company that we work for, just having that mental health day that they gave us and they were like, yeah, but you got to use your own PTO. It's like, okay, well, what if I need to save that PTO? What if financially, like I'm not in the position where I can just use that PTO? Maybe having an actual, or having a paid company, day off, that could be good for so many people. Like I don't mean to cut you off. I just took, I went to Outside Lands, had a great time, by the way. I took, some days off for work because of that. And I came back into the week so refreshed and I felt good about myself and everything. So having those days off is so important. And just having that acknowledgement in the process at the same time, it's so important, but there's just this stigma, I guess you can say, around work. It's like, you got to perform. And if you do great, we will acknowledge that. But if you're doing terrible or if you're struggling, it just means you're bad at your job and you're not a fit here.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not always the case.
Right. I don't want to bash our company too bad because there are some great things that they do and they provide, but it's just like that whole thing was just like, the intention was there. The intention was good. They had the right idea. just the execution wasn't there. For me,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think I can speak for most of our team as well. Is like,
Yeah,
why are we going to use our own time? But anyway, that's I could go on all day about that. But I think there are companies that, maybe they can't offer mental health days, but it's just like, it's that on top of like, I think coming from like a management standpoint, if you see someone's performance, tapering off or slowing down or whatever, I think that's where you could be like, hey, what's going on? Is there something going on at home? Is there anything I could do to help you out? I mean, I think there's, even if you can't provide a mental health day, you could at least normalize like, hey, I see that you're struggling. What can I help you with? Or, whatever, like how can we get you back to where you were? And I've had those conversations with my managers before, which was nice because I didn't expect that. I didn't expect them to be like, oh yeah, I feel the same way. Like, oh, for real? Oh, thank God. And you kind of like, you let your shield down a little bit, just a little bit, you never know. But it's just like, it's just to hear that from someone who's at a management standpoint to feel the same way as you do about certain things. You're just like, oh, great. I don't feel alone anymore. And I think with mental health, and the stigma about it, a lot of people feel alone and they don't reach out and they don't say anything and they just keep it to themselves. And that's how I used to be. I used to keep everything to myself. I never talked to anybody about anything. I was just like, you don't understand, or they're not going to understand. They're going to judge me or whatever. So it's just like now, 31, older, more experienced, but it's just like now I know there's different avenues I could take to have someone to talk to be able to not feel alone. And I think a big reason for this podcast is that we want more people that, I mean, we're not celebrities. We're not therapists. We're not, we're just regular dudes, just like came up with this idea. And I think if we open that conversation to more people that kind of feel the same way as we do, go, oh shit, I'm not alone. There's people that feel exactly how I do. So yeah, we're not offering you mental health days or anything because we can't. But it's just like, but what we will do, or what I will do, can't speak for Carlos, but, I'll put my Instagram and my Facebook, well, not my Facebook, my Instagram. I'll put my Instagram down. If you need someone to reach out to, hit me up. I mean, I'm not a therapist, but, I'm a cool dude, talk to you, whatever. And so, I mean, so it's just like, but I just want to be another avenue to be like, hey, you're not alone. You have someone to talk to.
But no, I mean, I completely agree with you. And I think that's part of the reason of creating this podcast and starting this podcast. It's like, we want to be a resource for, each other. I think we've all had, our fair share of experiences and good experiences. And we've learned a lot, especially in the mental health realm. And so, we want to build that community. Obviously our social media is going to be linked in to this podcast here, but reach out to us. We'll have a main page for this, podcast where you guys can, submit some questions, submit some videos, or if you just kind of want to type out a message, we don't have to open it. But if you need someone to listen to you or someone to kind of just be there for you, we want to be that extension, that resource for you. For sure. And so I think the more we can have people engaged in this process, I think the better it'll be for all of us. We don't want it to just be, us two just talking here all the time. I'm sure you guys will get tired of our voices. Maybe not. Well, who knows? But we want more people, and hopefully we'll bring on some other guests and, have people come to, eventually our studio once we kind of get that place opened up. But, we want this to be an engaging process for everybody. And, we want to lift up the voices of the people that are struggling, the people that are going through a difficult time, because it's not talked about. It's not, paid attention to enough, and it's not taken seriously sometimes. And that's, very unfortunate. And so I think it's, I'm excited to where this is going to take us, and I'm excited to where we can, ultimately kind of grow from here. And I think this is going to be a very, I would say, humbling process for me. And I'm looking forward to learning a lot, and especially, from you, from other people that, we have kind of chiming into this process here. But yeah, like Louis said, we're here to be a resource for you guys. And, we want you guys to be a part of this collective effervescence community. And, feel free to reach out to us anytime.
For sure. I mean, I think that kind of goes into our next topic, which, guys, is kind of a touchy topic, but Henry Ruggs, DUI, killed somebody. And my first thought was like, what a piece of shit. Like, how do you get, to a point to where you're that, inebriated and you decide to drive home with a loaded gun in your car? I don't have all the facts. That's just what I've read so far. But, Carlos and I had a conversation about it, and he was just like, well, I'll let him tell his point of view in a second, but it kind of changed my mind. And I was like, wow, that's what this podcast is about. That's what, I mean, we need to open up, those doors to people that maybe be going through something. And, this guy is a professional athlete. He's like 22, 23 years old, and, he's living in Vegas and stuff, and, fast cars, whatever. But it's just like, I think they're held to a certain standard. And right now he's getting a lot of hate. I mean, for me, at first, but do I agree with what he did? No. Do I condone it? No. Do I think it was okay? No. But I think that we could use this as an intro to be like, hey, some of these athletes don't have, they have such a negative stigma around therapy or around mental health that they don't reach out to anybody. And is that the case? I don't know. I don't know the guy, never talked to him before, whatever. But it's just like, even his quarterback, Derek Carr, whatever his name is, he was just like, he needs to be loved right now. And I was like, fuck. Yes, he does. I mean, maybe not, but but it's just like, he does need that, because maybe he was going through something, because a normal person just doesn't, get drunk what was it, like two times over the legal limit?
Yeah, I believe he had at one point.
Getting in his car with a loaded gun. Could that have been meant for somebody? Could that gun been meant for him? I don't know. But it's just like, that conversation, I think, should be had and should be opened up, and maybe he could talk about it. Maybe it has nothing to do with his mental health, and he was just being a kid and who has millions of dollars and just gets drunk and goes in this fast car, and that's what happened. But what I'm saying is that maybe there was more going on than we know. But I'll let Carlos kind of go on about what he thought.
Yeah, that was really kind of the mindset that I, initially had with when I first heard about it. I'm in a group chat with a lot of my friends, and obviously just being on social media, this guy received a lot of hate. And I mean, you can't blame people. I mean, he, took someone's life because of his actions, and it's a terrible thing. And a dog, like, yeah, man. Unfortunately, the dog hits harder for a lot more people than, unfortunately, the girl in that situation. But that's probably another topic for us another day. But I think for me, I've tried to be less judgmental, and am trying to be more understanding of people. And like Luis was saying, it's when you think of the average person or the average individual, are we all driving drunk, going 156 miles per hour on the road with a loaded gun? Now, to me, that was instantly a red flag. I mean, to be that inebriated, going that fast, and then learning about, hey, he had a loaded gun in the car, it's instantly my thought process was, is he okay? Is he okay? And I don't think we ask that question enough. Everyone is so quick to judge him. And, like Luis was saying, we're not saying what he did was okay in any way, shape, or form. No one should ever get behind the wheel of a car, drinking or anything like that. We have Uber, you have friends, family, or anybody that could, give you a ride places. And so, I make sure I want to cover that. It's, we don't agree with his actions at all, but what led him to that? What events or what situations got him put in that situation? Because a lot of people were saying, well, he threw his life away. Why would he do that? He had all this and that. But it's like, okay, yeah, well, let's focus on that. He made it to the NFL. That was just a huge accomplishment. obviously a very, very skilled guy, but yeah, professional athlete, made it to the NFL, has all this money, is in Vegas. You got to think, hey, this guy's living the life, right? And so you can't be so quick to be like, oh, he just threw his life away. It's like, okay, well, what led up to that event? And maybe he was just like, fuck it. I'm drinking. I'm having a good time. I want to go for a ride in my car. I'm okay. And just goes for a drive.
Right.
You know, that could be a very possible thing.
Yeah. I think because that is how a lot of DUI interactions happen, is someone feels, I think I'm okay to drive home. And I mean, yeah, no, I'm not going to go into that, but it's just like, you know, I think that, you know, no, I will. I've done it before, you know, I've drank.
So
I feel fine. I'm gonna drive home. And granted, this is before Uber. This is before all that stuff. Like, I didn't know what those things were. That they didn't exist. But it's just like, you know, it's just like, you know, now there's so many options. And I've heard somewhere, I didn't really look into it, but it said that, you know, professional athletes, NFL players, whatever, have access to their own like drivers if they get to a point to where they can't drive home. Call one of these guys up, and that's their only job, to pick these athletes up and drive them wherever they need to go. But you know, was that an option for him? Yes. Did he take it? Obviously not, because he's in prison right now because he killed somebody. Yeah. But it's just like, you know, yeah, what was it that caused him to get to that point to where was he by himself? Was he drinking by himself? We don't know that. I mean, I don't know if they've talked about that or covered it. Honestly, I don't think anyone cares. To be honest, no one's going to give a shit about what led up to that. I think you kind of have to come from, and it took me a while to get to that place of like, dang, maybe he was going through something and just made a mistake. Yeah. You know, but it's just like, you know, but that mistake took someone else's life. So yeah, he did throw his life away. Whether that wasn't on purpose, I don't think we'll ever know, because honestly, with our justice system and how things are, they're not going to talk about that. They're not going to come to that and be like, and if they do, and if he does say something, they're going to find a way to spin it and be like, oh, he's just saying that because he wants to get off the, you know? So it's just like, I think that there needs to be an open conversation about, hey, you know, especially with things like this. I mean, if somebody, you know, I think this kind of thing where double, you know, over the limit, has a loaded gun. It could have been meant for himself. He was probably trying to kill himself. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. But it's just like, you know, am I going to say the same thing about if someone gets drunk and goes and murders somebody, like with a knife or a gun and shoots them? And like, you know, that could have been preemptive. They could have planned that. So I'm just saying that for this specific situation, this person who's all over the news and stuff, professional athlete, like, we should be asking, why, dude? Why'd you do that? Yeah. Why? You know, I'm not saying get him out of jail. He shouldn't serve time. He should, whatever's coming to him legally, he's going to deserve it because he made a mistake. But
you got to face the consequences.
Right. But, you know, I think that if the conversation is open about, hey, dude, like, what were you thinking? What's going on at home? Because I think it's also unfair that professional athletes are held to this super high standard. So if they do anything like, well, they are held to a high standard, but you know, assault. Yeah. So I'm not going to go that.
But deep. I mean, they're also, I mean, I think what you're kind of saying is they're in the spotlight 24/7. Right. If you think, you know, I think they kind of lose their human touch, and it's like everyone's so, and the same thing with celebrity, any person that has high status, it's, you think, oh, they're so disconnected from the rest of us humans. They're perfect individuals.
See them as gods.
Yeah.
To a point. I mean.
No, 100%.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so anytime they make a mistake, no matter how bad it is, it's like, well, how many mistakes have you made? You know, they're human just like us. You maybe have not made the same mistakes, but I mean, you can't not look at them like a human. And I don't think we look at anybody like humans. I think we all have lost that connection, and we've become so robotic that, you know, looking at someone as a human and as an individual that has feelings, that has emotions, that has their own struggles, like, That is not part of the conversation anywhere.
No.
And I mean, this kind of ties back to work too. You know, obviously his job is a professional athlete. He plays in the NFL for the Raiders. And so he's held to these high standards. And, you know, he could have been really just going through a really difficult time and he was hurting and he was in pain. But are we asking about that? Is that part of the conversation?
Right.
Are we trying to figure that out? No, because we're only looking at the action and the result. And now it's like, this guy's going to face these consequences, as he should. Mm-hmm. But I think to get to a place where individuals within a society can function and not be so consumed in hate and judgment, I think we need to kind of have a greater understanding of one another. We need to get to a point in our lives of like, of just asking the why a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, and here's the thing too. I think it's, if he was just like, I'm drinking, I'm having a good time, I'm feeling good, I'm going to go out of my car and drive fast. And maybe that's all there was to it. Maybe he wasn't mentally struggling. Maybe there's no mental pain or anything that he was experiencing at the time. He just said, I'm just going to go out and do this and I'm going to have fun driving fast while I'm drunk. Maybe that's the decision that he made. But even then, it's, well, why does he think that was okay?
Right.
You know, in any situation, whether it was, he was just doing it just to do it because he wanted to do it, or he was in pain trying to get away or doing something, that we still need to ask why.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of goes back to, well, not goes back, but it connects to how we are raised, the values that we have as a society, and what we are taught at a very young age. Mm-hmm. You know, it's, I don't know. I feel like this is such a hard topic, and I mean, I wouldn't really, we know so little information about this still.
Yeah.
But I think at the point that we're trying to get at this, it's, we need to try to understand what exactly was happening in this situation, mm-hmm. not just from a very surface level viewpoint, not like he was doing this and he was doing this, he got in the car, he was drunk. You know, we need to understand the humanness behind it, behind his emotions and his actions, because at the end of the day, we're not just actions. We're not just like bodies walking around that just do stuff. No, we have reasons for doing these things. We have, you know, a purpose, a thought process that makes us behave in certain ways, makes us act in certain ways. And so I really hope that this gets brought up. Do I think it will? No, but I would really like to learn, you know, what was really going on through his head at the moment.
Right.
And if it was something like that, man, I hope he gets the help.
Yeah.
And I hope that there's the resources for him available when, you know, he is,
right.
You know,
yeah,
convicted.
I mean, you know, I think it's needless to say, my heart goes out to the victim and, you know, and her family and everything, but I don't want to say their name just because, you know, I would imagine their family wouldn't want, you know, their name.
No.
You know, but it's just like, you know, his actions took someone's life away.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, you know, I'm not trying to say, I don't think our message here is not like, oh, it has to do with his mental health, then it's okay. That's not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is like, you know, it should be talked about, his mental health state. And I think not just him, but every athlete and celebrity. And there's so many, you know, people out there that take their own lives, like, you know, Heath Ledger, Robin Williams. I mean, mm-hmm. you know, we probably go down the line of a list of celebrities that took their own life. And it's just like, there's these people making millions on top of just stupid money. Just like, you know, but money doesn't buy happiness. And, you know, that is an example of that. But it's just like, you know, what were they going through when they took their lives? And I mean, you know, it's sad really, because even, you know, when that happens, it's just like, oh, well, they took their lives away. Those cowards, whatever. And it's just like, no, even, I mean, you know, one of my favorite vocalists, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, he took his own life too. And it's just like, that hit me hard because that was like my first band I ever listened to. And it was just like, wow, like this guy on top of the world, money, family, wife, kids, everything, big house, all that stuff. And it's just like, and if you go back and listen to all his lyrics, a lot of them are sad. They're not, I mean, it's not, yeah, he's screaming and stuff and all that stuff, but it's part of the emotion. But it's just like, if you go back and look at the lyrics, I think a lot of it was just his way of trying to make himself feel better. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of
coping
artists do.
With what he might be experiencing.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because, there's a lot of speculation, like, oh, what happened when he was a kid, whatever. I'm not going to get into all that, but it's just like, these are people too. Mm-hmm. Celebrities, athletes, whatever. They're people too. They have issues. They have their problems. They're sad. They're happy. They're mad, whatever. But I think we put them on such a pedestal that if anything negative happens around them, automatically everyone's just like, oh, fuck them. They made a bad choice, or they're this, they're that. And it's just like, and honestly, like I did the same thing with Henry Ruggs. Mm-hmm. When I first heard it, I was like, wow. Like, why would you do that? Yeah. But then it's just like, now when I ask, why would you do that? It comes from a different place. Mm-hmm. It's just like, dude, like, what happened? Like, why didn't you reach out? Why didn't you call someone? But then maybe he felt that he couldn't. But at the same time, all this is speculation. Yeah. We don't know if it has to do with his mental health. We don't know if he was going through something, because we don't know, because no one's going to ask him. Mm-hmm.
And I think an important part of this conversation is could have this been avoided? If the conversation around mental health was just a little different, could this situation have been avoided? Would he have felt more comfortable reaching out?
Right.
And like I said, this is all speculative. If he was maybe going through some mental health issue that led him to this, let's say he felt more comfortable reaching out, could this have been avoided? Derek Carr was talking about how he was just, talking to Henry Ruggs about his golf swing.
Yeah.
The night before the incident happened. So it's, what did that conversation mean to him? Mm-hmm. If anything.
Right.
But I think, when you look at celebrity deaths and when suicide or drug overdose or any sort of bad, action or whatever that was kind of around them, I think that had the conversation maybe been different around mental health, and we have a more supportive society and engaging society around it, I think a lot of the bad that we experience with these celebrities or in our daily lives, it could be avoided,
Yeah, I think if the conversation was open just more in general for like the regular Joe going to work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, whatever, I think there would be, I would hope to think there would be less DUIs. There would be less drug use. There would be less just all the negative shit that's out there that happens on the day-to-day basis. There's people on drugs, or, they're on the streets, or this and that. I think if they had more access to mental health and it was more of an accepted thing to talk about, I think those numbers would go down for homeless, for, because when I say homeless, I think there's a lot of people that are on the streets don't want to be there.
Yeah.
It might look like they do, maybe. I don't know. I thought that sometimes too, but it's just like, I think that's another topic possibly for another day, is that what are they going through? Yeah. And do they have the help that they need? Obviously, I don't think they do, because they're still on the streets. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, might be a different topic for a different type of podcast, but it's just like, I think that, if mental health is more mainstreamed, more talked about, it's open, it's out there, it's positive, I think more people would reach out. Yeah. I'm, not to us, but like, professionals, someone who can actually help. I think I give good advice sometimes, but I'm not a professional. So it's just like, if I get a DM from somebody who's talking about, hey man, I'm going through this and you don't like what I have to say, that's great. Okay, fine. I'll give you my opinion if you ask me for it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's just like, I just think there just needs to be more of a community around it. There needs to be more of a positive stigma and twist on it that people out there could benefit from. And, I think that if it is more talked about, it's positive, people would, and it's accessible, I think people would go for it.
Yeah. And I think it kind of goes back to the why, when you mentioned homelessness, I think it's like, oh, we automatically assume, oh, that's just some bum that got into drugs and threw their life away and made poor decisions. Well, it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody.
Right.
Maybe some people did, and you know what? They just, that is my life on the street now. I did this, and they have no, let's say, remorse for, you know, the actions and the life that they currently have, and maybe they do. But I think that we need to kind of get to a level where we are focused on the understanding and trying to understand people and trying to get the why, because it's like, okay, you make all the judgments in the world that you want. You can stereotype everybody, but what good does that do for you? How does that help you connect with people more? And maybe you're the type of person that just doesn't want to connect with anybody and you're just doing your own thing, and hey, that's fine. That's cool.
Great.
But if you are that person, I just say don't bring more hate into the world because there's already enough, you know? But I think for those people that do care about, you know, people and just kind of connecting with others, I think it's just try to understand them a little bit more. You never know what they're going through, and if they need someone to listen or to acknowledge them, I think do that, because we do so little of it now that, I mean, it just keeps building up and building up. And that's kind of something else that I wanted to talk about too, that popped into my head right now. It's with social media, the news. I mean, even in our own personal lives, you know, life can be pretty hard sometimes, and there's a lot of negativity. There's wars and famine and just natural disasters and stuff that's constantly happening. So when we are consistently exposed to this type of information, I think we become numb to it, but
desensitized.
Yeah, desensitized. And it's like, how are we doing? Like, as a society with this much negativity and all this stuff going on in our lives that are harmful to us and our mental health, like, how is that not being a part of the conversation? How is that not being talked about? We're so overexposed to all this negativity, yet like, we're just like, oh, okay, I guess this is fine now. Like, that kind of reminds me of that meme with the dog in the room where like everything's burning around and he's like, I am fine. Like, like, no, that's crazy, you know? And I just, even now, like, I can't process it. I can't process that, you know, there's so much negativity, yet we aren't doing anything about it.
It's crazy because it's like, we're so desensitized that, you know, we all kind of feel like that dog sometimes, like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. But I think because it's not talked about often enough that, like, hey, you're not fine, and that's okay. Reach out to somebody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, whether it's, you know, I think a good idea would be to put the suicide prevention hotline on our page.
100%.
You know, just another resource for somebody. I mean, cause I don't know. But it's just like, I think there's a lot of just when shit happens, that's bad. We're all just like, oh, well, this is society now. This is normal. So fuck it, whatever. And I, you know, a lot of, you know, for me personally, I live by, you know, if it doesn't affect me, it shouldn't bother me. So it's just like, you know, there's a lot of people that disagree with, like, you know, all kinds of things. And then they let it affect them so much that they just hate on a certain group of people. Yeah. Just because they're different. And it's just like, bro, no, that's not how it should be. But it's just like, you know, it all goes back to how you were raised. You know, for me personally, you know, mental health and therapy was not talked about at all. It was just like, you know, my parents were there to listen, and, you know, I would talk to them sometimes, and, you know, nothing happened. I just sometimes didn't really feel comfortable talking to them about things. And I think a lot of kids growing up didn't feel comfortable talking to their parents. So I think now a lot of parents, me included, are trying to be more open and I mean, this is the thing that I want to drive home to my kids is, you know, mental health is a big thing, and it should be a big part of your life, and it should be something you are constantly checking in on. And I want to teach them how to do that. So am I the best example of it? Probably not. But, you know, if I have the opportunity to bring that conversation home and talk to my kids and talk to them and be like, hey, you know, if you're feeling a certain way, you know, talk to me. But if not, talk to your mom. Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. But it's just like, don't keep it inside. Cause I was that kid. I kept it inside, and you know, a lot of things could have been different if I didn't. But you know, I'll never know. I don't live in I try not to live in the past, and you know, it is what it is. But it's just like, you know, if I could encourage, you know, parents now, bring that conversation home. If your kids, you know, if they're acting out or whatever, there's always a reason. It's not just like, oh man, these are bad kids. You might think that, but you know, I think these things like, oh, my kids are whatever, and you know, life is whatever. I use humor to kind of hide behind it because you know, that to me is my coping mechanism. It's just, what's funny about this?
Yeah.
And but I think, I think, you know, is that good or bad? I don't know, but that's just how I go through things. Like, where is the funny? And I think a lot of comedians, like, you know, fucking Chris Farley, man, like, you know, he took his own life and, you know, and all that, but, you know, overdose. But it's just like, he was so funny. And I think he used that as his coping mechanism, and it just, you know, his drug problem just got out of hand, and, you know, whatever happened, you know, it happened. But it's just like, I think if there was more access and more conversation and just more inclusion of mental health in everyday life, I think society would be just a little bit different and a little bit better. But,
well, I think too, especially with a lot of comedians, I mean, you hear it with a lot of comedians even admit to themselves, like, I have a very dark life, but I've made my way through it because of comedy, you know, and humor has brought me through it. But I think we need to understand that that's just a coping mechanism, you know, and a coping mechanism is only supposed to help you deal with what you're doing, you know, experiencing in that moment. And it's not a fix to the problem. So when we don't get to the base, we don't get to the root of something and deal with it, it's only gonna just continue to grow, you know, whether it's you just kind of hold things in. Like I used to be that type of person where I would just hold things in, and it would build up, and maybe I would lash out or whatever, you know? And so I hope everybody has healthy coping, you know, habits and mechanisms and stuff that they implement in their daily lives. But if you aren't dealing with the issue at hand, it's only going to continue to build, you know? And so when you look at these celebrities or comedians that maybe have overdosed, or even any celebrity that has found a coping mechanism in their art, in their comedy, their music, and eventually take their lives or overdose on drugs, it's, well, maybe because they never really dealt with the issue at hand, fix the problem. And I think that is something that we need to highlight too. It's, don't just cope with it. Don't just deal with it. You have to fix it. You have to get to a level of understanding of like, this is what I'm experiencing. This is why, and this is how I can change it for the better. You know, because if you just cope with stuff, it's just kind of like sweeping it under the rug. If that's how you were when you were little and you're cleaning your room, and I'll just throw everything under my little rug or throw everything under my bed, at some point, all that stuff is going to start coming out, you know? And it's, I hope the conversation changes in that way of, okay, in the beginning stages, find your healthy coping mechanisms, find ways for you to get through whatever you're going through in that moment in time. But we need to circle back. Circle back to what you are dealing with, circle back to the issue at hand, and let's take care of it. Take care of it so that it's no longer an issue for you. Or if you run into that issue again, you do know how to move on from it. You do know how to overcome it instead of just kind of pushing it off to the side.
I think, you know, as we're talking, you know, maybe therapy isn't for everybody. Maybe it's not, which is fine. You know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I mean, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but it's just like, I just want to kind of open that conversation, and like, therapy can help. Therapists can help. And, you know, if you reach out to one of them, you know, it's their job to try to help you as best they can. And if they can't, I would hope they would just share, like, yo, bro, this is above my pay level. You need to talk to someone else. I would hope that conversation happens too. But I just think that, you know, I think that if people were to feel that it's okay to have these problems. And it's okay to, to have, depression, anxiety, and all the negative mental health things. I suffer from that all the time. I mean, I was on medication for a while, and I probably need to get back on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. But it's just like, but that's me. Does everybody who's depressed need to have medication? Maybe, maybe not. It's not for me to say. I'm just saying that, like, I think if we change that conversation a little bit, and which I hope this podcast kind of does, and what we can, bring up and help with, and just be another outlet to be like, hey, there's other resources other than keeping it to yourself. Because I know, me personally, even, the past few years, I kept things inside, and, ultimately, that's what led to my breakup. I kept things inside too much, didn't know how to cope. And, luckily we're better off as friends, which is fine, whatever. Sometimes it happens, and you just co-parent because you have kids, but it's just like, it affects your relationships, and it affects your everyday life. Like, there's some people that just keep everything inside. They go to work. One thing happens to them, they go home and get a gun and come and shoot everybody. I mean, so it's just like, but if that conversation is, it's more prevalent. Is that the word? Whatever. Yeah. Happens more often, and it's there. Yeah. And it's positive, and it's like, hey, if you feel like you're going through something, we have outlets for you, whether it's therapy, whether it's working out, whether it's hiking, whatever. Find something that's going to help you mentally. But I just hope that as this podcast grows, and we have a fan base, and that grows, and I just hope that eventually we become a resource. Yeah. That was the thing that kind of drove me to want to do this, is like, man, like, it'd be like, I'm not trying to be famous or rich or whatever. No, not at all. Nice, but that's not my goal. My goal is like, there's other resources out there than keeping shit to yourself. So it's just like, you need to talk to me, you need to talk to your mom, your dad, brother, girlfriend, a therapist, whatever. Have that conversation with whoever you need to have it with to make yourself feel better, to know that you're not alone, to know that it's okay to feel these things. It's okay to feel like, man, I don't feel like getting up to go to work today. Shit, I don't either. But, we have to. And that's the thing too. We have to. But it's just like, if that conversation's around, I'm like, oh man, well, at least I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. I think it might make things a little bit easier for some people. Maybe not everybody, but I think just to know, like, I mean, because I think it's nice to know you're not alone with certain things, whether it's mental health or whether it's, whatever you're struggling with. I'm sure someone else out there is feeling the same way. I mean, like, there's a website called, it's Quora. Like, I don't know how to spell it, but, I would go on there when I felt bad, and I would just ask some questions like, oh, what if, and people would respond, and you could have a conversation with them, and it's just like, holy shit, other people kind of feel the way I do. And it's just like, and it got to a point where people were asking me questions. I was like, I'm just a dude on this website. Like, okay, sure, whatever. Here's my opinion. But it's just like, I think once that conversation's open and it's a positive conversation, people are encouraged to reach out to others, are encouraged to reach out to therapists, are encouraged to fucking journal your thoughts, do something. I mean, if it's to a point to where it's okay to talk about these things, it's okay to feel these things, people know that, I just think, the world will be a better place.
No, I mean, definitely. I mean, if you're listening now, right. If you're listening right now or tuning in whatever facet that you can, and you're going through something, reach out to us. And I think it's not enough for us to just say that we want to be resources. We, and I think that's part of this podcast too. We want to put that into action. If you are experiencing something, if you're going through something, reach out now. Have the links for our social media. The main page for this podcast on Instagram here. We'll also have the page up on YouTube. But if you're going through something, reach out to us. We don't have to respond. You don't have to tell us every little detail, but if you need someone to listen to you or need help in any way, hey, we're here,
For sure.
And so I think it's, what I would like to see in our society is just the change around, our our values and what we prioritize, and then fitting mental health into that.
Yeah.
You know, we have this mold that, we're all supposed to fit into, and our emotions, our mental health are not part of that mold.
Right.
And so I think as a society, it's going to be difficult, but that needs to be a part of the conversation. It needs to be a part of that mold. You can't just be based off your actions. This is what you got to do. This is step 1, step 2. Whatever. No, it's, hey, how are you doing in this process? Society is hard. Life is hard. You're going to go through your difficulties, but hey, it's important. Check on your mental health. You know, use your resources, reach out to people, go see a professional.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope that one day we do get to that point as a society that we are, engaging in more, you know, positive mental health practices. I think that's, you know, the base for this podcast here. But I mean, it's a day at a time, you know, a day at a time. And I know eventually we'll get there with enough people doing it. And one thing I wanted to say about this podcast and about us as well is, you know, like Louis said, we're not professionals. If there's something that you disagree with in any of our podcasts or any of, the topics that we cover, call us out. Like, let us know. Let's have that conversation, because at the end of the day, this is not us just preaching to you. We want this to be an engaging process.
Community.
Yes, it's a community. Exactly. So, join, be a part of this in any way that you, feel like, in any way that you want. But, you know, let's really just come together in this process. Chat with us, send us, you know, tips, or send us questions that you may have that you would like for us to cover in this podcast. And, you know, we would love for any of you to be a part of it. I'm really excited to where we can take this, you know?
For sure. I mean, what I'll say on top of that is that, you know, any kind of, like, if you disagree, great. But if you're just going to come out with, like, hate and, like, try to shit on us, like, we're not going to engage. So just don't even, this is not what our community is about. This is not what we're trying to build. So I'm just going to put it out there now. If you're just going to be out, you know, trying to talk shit or whatever, like, you know, don't. But if you do, just know you won't be engaged. We're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna fall for that trap. But yeah, I mean, if there's any topics that you have, if there's any questions you have, or if there's anything that you want us to talk about, reach out, let us know, ask us questions. We can have a conversation offline. And then if it's, you know, if it's something that we feel would benefit the community, we'll put it in the podcast. But, I'm excited for this. I hope we have some, you know, we have a good following and a good, you know, a good little community. You know, I just think that once we open this up and, you know, just become another resource, I hope that people would be, you know, that feel that it'll be safe to reach out to us, and it'll be safe to have those conversations with us. And, you know, maybe we could have you on the show at some point. Who knows?
I would love that.
But, you know, it's just, you know, this is our first podcast. You know, I appreciate everyone who's listened and who's stuck around for this long. I don't think we're still kind of hammering out all the details of how long this episode's going to be, but I think this is a good starting point. So I'm excited for, you know, for our next steps. What's going to happen next. I'm super excited for that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And just to kind of add one more thing on that, if there's an opportunity for us to learn, an opportunity for you guys to teach us something,
hell yeah,
please share it. Yes. Like I said, you know, just kind of going back, we're not professionals.
Right.
We're still learning throughout this process, and we're going to continue to do our own research on things. But, you know, I think that kind of comes into whether we can have you physically here in a space with us and be on the podcast for you to share your point of view, or if you can submit a video to us or an email or something. We're open to having those types of conversations with you. We want to learn. And please, if you want to engage in any way, feel free to. This is a safe space for everybody, and anyone that really wants to kind of have their voice heard.
For sure. Yeah. I was just going to say, like, you know, I always thought it was corny, but our link's going to be in the bio. So, you know, just hit us up. We're on Instagram. I'm sure we'll build a Twitter and TikTok and all that kind of stuff eventually. But right now we're just trying to see, you know, what kind of following we're going to have, and tailor it to that community. So, yeah, just hit us up. Know that we're here to help in any way as we can. And if there's an opportunity that for us to learn something or something for us to cover differently, or maybe we're too harsh, or maybe we weren't harsh enough, whatever, just let us know. Give us your feedback, positive, negative. But if it's hateful, I swear to God, I will not listen to it. But it's just like, if you have some kind of constructive criticism, we're all about it.
Yes, definitely. If you guys have listened to this entire episode thus far, I just want to say, at least from my end here, thank you for tuning in. Yes, you guys are troopers. We still have a long way to go as far as where we want to progress with this podcast here, but thank you guys all for joining. We will have episodes released either every Wednesday or bi-weekly. So be prepared to tune in. Like I said, be engaged as engaged as you can. But again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It definitely means a lot to have you guys listening into what we have here. Again, my name is Carlos Pichardo, aka Los. We will have our Instagram and social media in the bio here. If you're just listening in, my @ on Instagram is pichardo.los. It is PICHARDO.los, LOS. Feel free to reach out to me there. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I look forward to our next episode.
For sure. Again, my name is Luis Patterson. My Instagram is going to be Oh That Lulu with zeros for the O's. So I thought that was clever. But yeah, just hit me up on there. We'll have everything linked and spelled out properly in our bio and stuff. And look forward to having these conversations. This has been fun.
Yes, definitely. All right, Luis, it was a pleasure having this first episode and really getting this out.
Yes, sir.
Let's run with it. Let's build up this community and let's have ourselves a good time.
For sure.
All right, man. Thank you guys for joining.
Bye-bye.